being an ex-drug addict, a lot of the stuff I went through, I just coped with drugs. I just numbed it. To truly feel, I was like, okay, this is what that feels like. This is a normal emotion you're supposed to learn at 12 years old. I'm learning at 28, 29. So it was really interesting to pick up tools that I should have already had. I've been in pretty much every group at this institution, and this one was different in that most of us that are in prison have a struggle with emotions. I knew for me, I didn't understand anything but anger. So being in here, I learned how to feel, just genuinely feel someone's story, feel someone's pain, and I understood, what am I feeling right now? And then I would start analyzing it, like, okay, that's pain, that's sorrow for this guy for what he's been through. I've been in the system since I was 15. I basically grew up in here. I learned everything according to what inmates have taught me, the prison system, and I've been desensitized to things that normal people wouldn't witness or be a part of. And this has almost resensitized me to be more human again, to feel what that person is feeling, because a lot of times in prison you'll mock someone who shows weakness. And in here, it's almost like a strength to see, man, that guy's hurting, but he's willing to put it out there. And I had a lot of false strength. I thought being tough or macho or whatever was the answer in prison. But realistically, to be successful or to be someone who can fit in society, you have to be able to understand what people feel. People who are in prison, who go home without helping themselves or without fixing the issues that brought them to prison, are going to repeat that cycle, and then they're going to hurt innocent people again. Being in a room with 12 people that you never would think you would share your deepest, darkest secrets, even with your partner or your family, you wouldn't share it, but you're willing to share it here. It releases a lot of those internal battles you have. So I'm forever thankful for it. It's truly helped me on my path, for sure. I think counsel also gives you a sense of trust with people that you wouldn't normally trust. There were some things that happened to me, obviously, that weren't good. And this has kind of helped me release those things. When I come to counsel and I talk about something that's hurt me in the past, I don't carry that alone anymore. I give it away. It's like, all right, this is something that I was carrying to my mid-20s, and now I'm sharing with a group of men. And I think the reason why I can do that is because everyone does it. So it kind of really put me in a place where I could be vulnerable and a place you're not supposed to be. And I think that's truly one of the most important things, is to be able to talk about your pain, what you've been through, because most of us numb it with drugs or violence. There's no group on the yard that makes me feel the comfort that counsel does. It actually builds my confidence and gets me comfortable with who I really am.
What was it like when you walked in and you saw this circle in our group for the first time? What were you thinking?
I thought it was very not for me. I just looked at it and I was like, is this like Wiccan? Is this something like voodoo? What's going on? What's the circle? What's the little pieces in the middle? Well, I said, look, I'm just gonna try whatever is offered. I'm gonna be open-minded, and I'm gonna sit in, and I'm gonna basically be quiet and learn. And I'm blessed and thankful that I did, because I've learned so much about human emotion and the things that I just was completely disconnected from. It was something that I could come share my story and my experiences, and then look at someone who I thought had nothing to do with anything that I've been through, share a similar story and look nothing like me. You have to really be vulnerable and experience that life condition and the humanity of someone else.
I know for myself, growing up, being vulnerable was pretty much a no-go around the homies or whoever we called our friends back then.
Vulnerability was something that I ran from and I escaped, obviously through substance abuse, and it worked. As a kid, it works because you're 11, 12, experimenting, and it's the very thing that you can run to, and it numbs all the things that you're feeling. Vulnerability, especially early on in prison, or even jail or institutions, no one shows that, because you become a victim. For me, early on, is I couldn't understand that my feelings were hurt. I couldn't identify stuff like that. But counsel helped me empathize, learn compassion through hearing other people's story and really putting the humanity on a different face than I'm used to looking as an enemy. Now I'm looking at it as someone I was like, man, like I've been there, I've felt that. I needed tools. And going to counsel and kind of hearing people, like all it takes is for two people in that group to share to change the whole dynamic of the meet, or like the whole group. You hear someone become vulnerable that's comfortable in counsel, and it puts everyone else's guard down, and it's like, man, what he just shared was pretty real, you know? And once I let that guard down, like I wasn't willing to not go there anymore. For me, like every time I go to counsel, I tear a piece of my trauma, my experience, my pain, and I put it in the middle of that circle. And I allow each one of the men inside that circle to go ahead and take a piece of it from me. Because it's much easier for someone else to carry your trauma than for you to carry it. So I feel like that's what really happens is each person shares their experience and their story, puts it in the middle, and then we all leave carrying someone else's burden, so to speak. I'm willing to carry it for you. And that's what I get from the counsel. I think that was probably the first place I've seen tears. Like we're in a prison environment where someone was allowing themselves to be vulnerable like that. But I finally got to a place for me, I was like, man, that dude's healing. Like that's what's happening. Like he is not caring about anyone in this room to the point of like he's trusting the circle to be vulnerable and to let those tears out and let that that pain and trauma out. Like you can't make that up. You can't. There's no script for it. It's authentic. It's easy to put my hands up and fight someone. That's easy. But the first time I walked away from something, coming home and now I'm free, what if someone calls me a name in public and like I'm around my wife or kid or somebody and I'm like, okay, I gotta go handle this. Like, okay, so she can wait another 12 years for me or however long because I need to go handle this. So those are the things, like I really had to look at the belief that I held and understand like this belief is inaccurate. Just because people taught to you doesn't mean it's real. Fighting for your life and your freedom and you don't know when it could potentially come. I always had that desire to do whatever I could. I'm just trying to be the best person at what I'm doing. And I've noticed that just as a byproduct, good things happen. You represent love, buddy.
That's right.
Every time I see him, I know that that's what love looks like.